everybody. It's Pat Donnelly of E79 Resources, and I'm at the New Orleans Investment Conference, obviously New Orleans, and we're just out here to introduce ourselves to investors. And, E79, as you recall, we're working in Australia at our Myrtleford project, specifically at the Happy Valley and Twist Creek zones, which have already had some very, very compelling drilling results. So, again, it's a relatively new story, and which is why I'm hitting the road, introducing myself to people. I've only been with the company since May, and so far, despite the global turbulence, we're having a lot of fun and just going out and meeting people.
Fantastic. Hey, Patrick, thanks for coming on the show. You're at a conference. That's a kind of noise that I think I quite like hearing. It sounds pretty busy there.
It's not bad. And the conference organizers, I know they work really, really hard to get people here. And it's always been a very busy conference. And yeah, there's a lot of people here, and we've had a little bit of traffic, and they have some very good guests here. I think one of them you might know, I'm looking forward to seeing, is Dominic Frisby is in New Orleans as well. And I love Dominic, so I consider him a friend, and so I'm going to look for him. So yeah, I think it's well organized, and that's good. And I think there's always one saying is the best time to invest is when there's a bloodbath and when there's blood in the streets. And I've been talking to some of our other peers here, and we're all complaining that the valuations of our equities are very, very low. I was just talking to one company that put out some spectacular drill results yesterday, and their share price went down. So I think there's some good value here. For example, E79, our market cap right now is about 9 million Canadian, and yet we are sitting on 6 billion in cash. And so it's just so people ask me what the downside is. I don't see any more downside. I don't know how much lower we can go, and yet we have these incredible properties in Australia, and we've had some very good exploration results.
What do you have? You kind of put out a release recently about Twist Creek. Some of the grades coming out of there, and obviously formally, I think the big hope was seeing more results like we saw out of Happy Valley, 160 grams over 11 meters. Now, explain to us how your thing is. You've only been there since May, so how has your thinking evolved in your short time there?
What I've learned with exploration is we've only been on the property drilling for just over a year, and we've had some very good results. And what I've learned is we're still trying to understand what's controlling the mineralization, where is it coming from, how is it formed. And so we've been drilling pretty hard. We've had some spectacular results. We've had some results that are okay. And what I've learned is, we got to understand what we're doing. And so, like I said, we still have a lot of cash. We can still do a lot of drilling. And, you got to remember, Happy Valley was only the third hole we'd ever drilled. And I think there's many more areas that have results like that. What I've also learned is, the geology and the structure is very complex. And so our guys are working hard to try to understand it. And again, this is an area that's never been drilled. It's never seen much exploration before. And so I think part of it is just trying to get a handle on where it's coming from. So, you know what? It's not like some companies where they've blown all their money and they're kind of stuck. We have lots of money. Our drilling costs are very, very low. We're drilling at about $1.50, $150 Australian. All in, we're probably around 200, 225 Canadian a meter. So, Happy Valley, we still like that a lot. We got Twist Creek, and then we also got to remember we got dozens of other areas that are just like Happy Valley and Twist Creek. And I walked over some of those areas, and there's gold sticking out of the ground. So I wouldn't get too worried about that. It's early days, very, very early days. And it's just a matter of us understanding what's controlling mineralization and testing out some ideas. And that's kind of the usual story with a junior exploration company. So I like what I've seen. I've gone down there. I believe in our people. And I still have very high expectations for exploration success.
Yeah, you raised a few interesting topics there. Yeah, there are a lot of discounted projects and investments for people to
Yeah.
look at the moment.
Yeah.
I think the companies that are not cash stranded like yourselves, $6 million in the bank, you've got options. Now, I'm intrigued about how you're looking to play this market, because the money won't always be there in the future, or necessarily in the future. Well, you can't guarantee it. So how do you utilize your $6 million? What's the best use of money? Some companies are hunkering down. Some companies saying we got to control our own destiny and we got to get after it. So where are you going?
Well, I think the beauty of E79 is, one, most of our costs are Australian dollars, and so and the exchange rate is very, very favorable. Two, we have a very lean team. I'm the only full-time person in Canada, and we have a part-time CFO, and we have one full-time person in Australia. So our overhead's very, very low. And three, we can afford to keep a drill going. Our drill costs are very, very low, and the current burn rate, we can last for at least 2 years with our current cash. So, I think compared to a lot of our peers, a lot of them are very worried because they don't have any cash or very little cash, and right now the window's slammed shut for raising equity. So, the beauty is we're in a low-cost environment, low-cost drilling, low overhead, and so we can keep that drill turning and again get more value. And meanwhile, I'm going to still keep telling the story, because even though maybe people aren't interested in buying gold equities, you still want to get on the radar. You still want to get in front of them. Most importantly, I'm staying in front of our shareholders and not forgetting about them. I think too many companies forget about their shareholders. They take it for granted. And so I make a concerted effort to talk to them. So, like I said, the good thing is we got lots of cash, low cost drilling, very low overhead. And we're definitely, every day I'm talking to our CFO about, what do we do with our cash? How we spend our cash? How we manage our cash? And I think that's the important thing. And what's really important is the cash really belongs to the shareholders. And so I treat it that way, and we're very, very careful with that.
Okay, so you got cash, you're careful with cash, and the cost environment is quite low for you. But how are you describing, when you're there, talking to investors, how are you describing what you are? How do you categorize it? Because you've got these super high grade veins going on everywhere. You say you've got to try and work out what it is that you're dealing with here, but at the same time, you got to sort of play the market somewhat. Because you can be a pure geologist and no one's going to pay attention, but you're doing things absolutely the right way. But you also need those headlines. So how should we look at you? How should we look at this company today?
Well, the way I look at it is, nobody wants to catch a falling knife. Nobody wants to buy into an equity and then the market goes down another 5%, 10%, 20%. And so I think the important thing is you want to get on people's radars. Two, like I said, our market cap right now is 9 million Canadian. We have 6 million in cash. We're trading at like 16 cents, and we had a 52 high of about $1.50. So I don't know if there's any more downside to E79. So I think it's simply, like I said, we have lots of cash. I don't see much more downside. And yet, I keep saying this, Matthew, in terms of exploration, we've only scratched the surface. We've only been drilling this thing for a year. Like we're still, it's a 90-minute football match. We're still, the first 10 minutes of the match, and we still got a long ways to go. And and you can view the caches. We got lots of good substitutes on the side there, and we can keep this squad fresh, right? So, that's the analogy I like to use. And like I said, there's dozens of showings, workings. Gold everywhere, and it's simply a matter of just getting to that, because we have so many areas to drill, and we've only been in 2 areas out of dozens of areas on the property. So, like I said, people here, there's a lot of interest. There's blood in the streets. Equities are cheap, and I think the way we differentiate ourselves is the fact that we don't need money. We can make the money last, and meanwhile, we can do a slow, burn with the drilling. And adding value. And at some point, I've seen this in the past, I've seen companies where they slowly keep things moving along, and when things do turn around, they get a bump right away because they have been moving the needle, they have been adding value. And I think that's the strategy we have to take.
Right. So can you describe to me what the drill program is going forward? Are you going to stay up at Twist Creek? The numbers look okay, but do you want more?
So right now, we're doing we're doing an interpretation for Happy Valley. We're doing a three-dimensional model because the mineralization is open at depth, and the geology is very complex. The structure is very complex. So again, trying to see a model where the mineralization is going. Twist Creek, we're drilling there right now, and we'll probably wrap that up in another week or two, and then we'll take a step back and again do the interpretation on Twist Creek, and then hopefully the next few months we'll resume drilling again, and again go back to these areas, or we'll go back to some of our new areas. Also, this is a very, very large property, and so one thing we have to do is come up with drill targets. And this whole, when this company started and they drilled that third hole, it was a big whirlwind, right? As soon as we hit that one hole of 11 meters, 160 grams, we were running all over the place, getting drills, drilling, running around. I think now we have an opportunity to step back, spend more time on the ground, spend more time coming up with drill targets, spend more time coming up with the geological structural model, and really understanding what we're doing. Because I've seen so many companies, and as I said to you before, I was a geologist. I ran exploration programs, and I think the biggest mistake companies can make is they get ahead of themselves in the drilling without understanding what they're doing. I've seen that happen so many times, especially when they have early success. And so I think taking a step back, looking at our results, doing that groundwork, walking the ground, mapping, doing the geophysics, all that stuff. I think that's important. And also right now, the weather in Australia, believe it or not, hasn't been all that great. They've been dealing with weeks and weeks and weeks of rain. And so we'll take a step back and we'll come up. I'm trying to understand, what the drilling results mean, what the structure means, and then we'll go back and we'll start drilling again.
Okay, sounds like you got a plan, and that's pretty important. Look, Patrick, I'm going to let you get back to the conference. I'm loving. Give us a quick whiz around there with your camera. I want to see that room. What's happening there?
You want to see everything? Okay.
Oh man, yeah.
Let's see here. Here's.
Good.
Hope that helps.